Welcome back to More Than Therapy. Today, we're honored to host a true insider who's pulling back the curtain on the entire publishing industry. Our guest has not just written books, he has been the gatekeeper, the champion, and the expert guide for countless other authors. W. Terry Whalin is a veteran of the publishing world who knows both sides of the editorial desk. He's an editor and author of more than 60 books, with several of his titles having sold over 100,000 copies. Woo! I wish I could only sell 1,000 copies. Terry's impressive career includes time as a magazine editor, a former literary agent, and he currently serves as an acquisitions editor at Morgan James Publishing. He's a popular speaker and teacher at numerous writers' conferences and an active member of the American Society of Journalists and Authors. His latest book, 10 Publishing Myths, Insights Every Author Needs to Succeed, is a candid behind the scenes look at the realities that shatter common misconceptions about getting published and finding success. Terry is here to share his hard won wisdom, demystify the path to becoming a successful author, and give us the truth behind what it really takes to live a purposeful writing life. Please join me in welcoming the incredibly insightful W. Terry Whalin. Terry, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate this so much.
Indeed. So, Terry, tell me this. Could you share your wake up moment as an author? What happened and how did it change your perspective on publishing?
Yeah, my wake up moment happened in actually in 2007. I was a literary agent back then. I was at a little agency in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Mark Victor Hansen, the co-author on Chicken Soup for the Soul, invited me out to Los Angeles. He was having this big event called Mega Book Marketing University. So I flew out there, took pitches from people throughout the university or throughout the event. Now at that point in my life, I'd written about 50 books for traditional publishers. So they were paying me advances. They were making pretty books. They were getting them in the bookstore, all that kind of thing. But when you write for traditional publishers, usually once a year, maybe as often as 4 times a year, quarterly, they'll send you a royalty statement to tell you how your books are doing. Well, when all my statements were in the minus category, they weren't earning back their advance. They weren't making money. So I knew I must be doing something wrong. I just didn't have any idea what it was. And so I decided to sit there with the 400 people that were at this event and listen to the different speakers and see if maybe I could figure out what in the world was going wrong and what I was doing wrong when it came to my book. Well, there were a lot of speakers there, and one of the speakers there was Jack Canfield, the other co-author on Chicken Soup for the Soul. And Jack has this book that I have on my shelf called The Success Principles. And the very first success principle says that I will take 100% responsibility for my own success. Now, none of us want to take 100% responsibility. We want somebody else to do it, some publisher, some marketing person, some editor, please, somebody other than us. But I decided during that event that I was going to change and I was going to take 100% responsibility for my own success. And my wake-up moment happened because I realized how little I was personally doing to be telling people about my book. Sure, back then I had a terrywhalin.com website, but I was doing very little else to be telling people about their book, about my book. And so that's why they weren't selling. I wasn't doing anything as an author. Now, people forget those co-authors on Chicken Soup for the Soul went through a lot of rejection before they actually found a publisher. Those guys actually got rejected over 160 times. Now, that's a lot of rejection. They finally found a little publisher in Florida that would publish that first Chicken Soup for the Soul book. Now, they told their publisher they were going to sell 1 million books during the first year. And their publisher laughed at them. They never sold 1 million copies of anything. They thought that was like a ridiculous idea. It took them a year and a half to sell their first million books. And those guys talked about what they practiced. They practiced the rule of five. They got up every day and they did 5 things to be telling people about their book. I mean, there are dozens of things that you can do. I mean, my friend John Kramer has got this book called 101 Ways to Market Your Book. But these guys would get up in the morning, they would do a radio program, a podcast, a newspaper article, a magazine article, a live event, a guest blog post, something over and over to be telling people about their book. And it turned their whole situation around. So I decided back then that I was going to start blogging. And now blogs were new back then. And so I started a little blog on the writing life. And I decided to blog once a week. Well, I've been blogging every week since then. And now I have over 1,800 entries in my blog. I have this little device that goes out there and searches for my name out there online. If I finds it, it finds it. I found an article that listed the top 27 content producers out there. Now, this article also said there are over 600 million blogs. So there's a lot of blogs out there, but it listed me as one of the top 27 content producers. And it's not that I'm doing anything magical here. I'm just blogging consistently and persistently every week. And so that's the big hint that I would give you when it comes to finding success as an author. For one thing, you have to be doing something, and then you have to be doing it over and over and over, whether you're ghosted, whether you're applauded, whether you're rejected, whatever kind of reaction you get, you still have to be doing that action over and over.
Indeed. And that's probably one of my Achilles heel. How do I market myself? How do I promote myself as an author? Because just like I was telling my partner, Judithe, oh, it's easy for me, not easy for me to write. It's natural for me to write, to get it out, to pour my soul into these pieces of literature. It's not so natural for me to talk about it online or write about it, in a different format, to promote it, you know what I'm saying? I would probably benefit from, let's say a promoter or something like that, as I do find it difficulty to engage in the social medias or blogs or things like that. Though I want to, it's just a matter of how do I do it and be authentic? And I think that's the problem. Like, I'm not naturally a person that puts themselves on the front seat or showboats or says, "Hey, this is what I did," and I just think that's the Achilles heel. What she's done, she's been very good about, her book has a lot of spiritual indications in her book, so she's able to partner with churches, and she had a we launched a book launching thing for her. Well, let's see, I wrote a book. Why didn't I think to write a book launching for myself? You know what I'm saying? I would easily promote her, but not necessarily as easily promote myself. So I can definitely relate to, the fact that you put 100% of your own energy in promoting yourself, and that was beneficial to you. And, that's why I'm glad that you're a guest on this show today. It's a telltale sign. That's what needs to be done.
It really is hard, I mean, most of us that are writers are introverts. It's not like I like to be on a stage and talking and all that kind of thing. But I have found that when I need to be, I can rise to the occasion and get out there and do it. So that's part of why I wrote this 10 Publishing Myths book, because there's so much in the publishing business that's really outside of our control. So I hear these myths all the time that people are telling me about what's going to happen with their book, whether they're traditionally published, whether they self-publish, whether they go with a hybrid independent publisher. They just all have this same concept. The very first myth that people tell me is that I will make a lot of money. They all figure that's going to happen. No matter what they do, what they don't do with their book, they figure they're going to make a lot of money. Well, you may make money with your book, but that shouldn't be really the primary reason you're writing your book. You're writing your book because you're an expert in the topic. Having a book will open up doors for you so you can speak at different places and then tell people about your book. So it's got to be more than just, I'm going to make money at the end of the day, because so much of the process is outside of anything that I can control. So part of what I did in 10 Publishing Myths was I really tried to emphasize the actions that every author can take, no matter how they publish. So, for example, I can't make a bookstore buy my book. I can't make a reader go into that bookstore and buy my book. And I can't really guarantee that my stuff on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or any of those places is going to continue. I mean, I don't control those places. So I really tried to emphasize in this book the practical actions that every author can take. So, for example, each of us control our own website, our own newsletter, our own blog. Those are things that we can take control of and then do those things over and over. So that's, I think, one of the keys is that watching other people, seeing what other people are doing, learning from them, and then following those steps. There's no 1, 2, 3 formula to become a best-selling author. There are steps that all of us can take because success does leave traces, and we just need to follow those things that are really going to work for us at the end of the day. There's a lot of experimentation and failure that you really have to do in this whole publishing business to try to find your place and the right place for you at the end of the day.
Indeed, indeed. You've written more than 60 books and have sold over 100,000 copies. Only just to say that out loud, it's like, well, what is the most important attribute for a novice writer to develop to become a successful author? And that's what I hope to be. That's what Judithe hopes to be. That's what a couple of my friends hope to be, a successful author. I want to be on Oprah. I want to be on Dr. Phil. I want to be on, whatever these other places are that, look at me as success and put me on their number one list,
I think one of the key characteristics is to find the right connection out there for you, and it's different for each of us, but really just to be curious and be constantly learning about different aspects of the business. I'm still learning different things, like this whole podcasting thing we're doing here. For example, I just started doing guest podcasting about a year ago. And so it's not like I have a ton of podcasting experience here, but I think this is a great avenue that all of us can do. And you don't have to travel anywhere. You just get on here and talk about your book and the value that's there for people in the book. It's that simple.
Indeed, indeed. As an editor, what is the biggest error you see authors make regarding their expectations of the book? And I know you say making lots of money, but is there something else that's even more profound that you've seen as an editor?
Yeah, one of the another myth that I have in here is that my publisher will market and sell my book. Now, certainly your publisher has an investment in your book. They're going to do some marketing, some sales, get your book out there into the bookstore. But what people don't realize is that publishers have what I would call a divided passion, because we publish a lot of books. I mean, at Morgan James, where I work, for example, we're publishing close to 200 books a year. So sure, we care about each of those books, but we're not as passionate about it as I am. the author is a person that has the greatest passion for the book. So what I really encourage people to do is to take that passion that they have and let that fuel them to be active out there and to be talking to people about their book, and do something different every day to just be telling people about your book. Another myth that people have is that they can't be an author unless they write a book. Well, that's not true. I mean, I've written, like you said, I've written for more than 50 magazines out there. And really, it's my magazine work that has gotten more readers and more attention than my book ever will. I mean, in the book business, if your book sells 5,000 copies during the lifetime of the book, that's a good number. If you self-publish, they say it's closer to a couple hundred books that you sell during the lifetime of your book. But in the magazine world, it's very easy to reach 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people with your magazine article. People don't think about that. So the material that's in your book, can you repurpose some of that material? Can you take a personal story that's in that book and rework that a little bit into a magazine article that has a beginning, a middle, and end, and has a single point, and send that off to a publication? And at the end of the article, you could say, by Terry Whalin, author of 10 Publishing Myths, and lead people to your book. I mean, that's just another simple thing that all of us can do with our writing and multiply our efforts, because we've already written the book. Why not take some of that content of that book and get it out there in a different kind of way and reach more people with it?
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Some of my writings has catered to things I was interested in the therapeutic space. This last conference I went to recently, or that Judith and I went to recently, was based on one of my books. And I say, oh, we're not allowed to promote our material. But I thought, let's say you Google the trainer, you Google you Google me, you Google Judith, that name is going to resonate. That name is going to come up on the internet if I did my SEO right in my website, supposedly. And maybe that'll be the association, as that book name is inside my personal website, mrblue.net. So that wasn't my hope per se, but I thought it would be a good connection. As I was preparing for the conference and as I was writing this book, the training was just aspects of the book, and those are connected. And it's known in some circles that I am an author, that I do write about the things I talk about and train about. So I think that could also be a way to promote and market myself in a way, even though I cannot explicitly promote myself in the training. That would be considered, I don't know what they call it, but you're just not supposed to do that.
Well, did that happen for you? Did you make some new connections? And that's always what I find when I go to these events. Part of the thing is to find these new connections and then follow up with these people on the opportunities, because so many people never follow up. They never go back to the person and say, hey, what happened with that? So if you do that, that's another way, simple way, that you can stand out and really be active with your book and everything.
Indeed. You wrote an 11th myth that is available for free. Why did you decide to write an 11th myth, and where can people get it?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I was putting together the endorsements for this book, Alice Kreider, who was an acquisitions editor at David C. Cook, when she sent me her endorsement, she said, Terry, you're missing the 11th myth. I'm like, oh, okay, Alice, I'll bite. What's the 11th myth? She said, well, the 11th myth should really be, if I send my book to Oprah Winfrey, she'll book me on her show. And I'm like, Well, yeah, that's a great myth. And so what I decided to do is I decided to write that chapter. And when we designed the book, we designed it to look exactly like the rest of the book. And you can get that for free from me if you go to terrylinks.com/11th myth, 11th myth. That'll take you to a little website that I put up, and you put your first name and email address in there, and you'll be able to get that 11th myth for free. And the reason it's a myth is because I happen to know that Oprah Winfrey has this big warehouse in Chicago where she puts all the stuff, the free stuff that people send her. Now, your book can go in that warehouse if you want. She organizes it all and then gives it away once a year. I think there's some better things that you can do with your book than send your book to Oprah Winfrey. And that's really what I wrote about in that chapter. It's a matter of finding the right connection, the right person that's going to be effective and really be the person that should help you at the end of the day. So for example, I mean, you mentioned hiring a publicity person. Sure, you can hire a publicity person. I guess in that area, my advice is make sure you hire the right publicity person. I mean, at Morgan James, we did this book called The Garbage Man's Guide to Life, 8 Ways to Get Out of the Dumps. And the co-author on this book had just sold a trash garbage business for millions of dollars. And so they put $30,000 into the marketing of this book. Well, they told us who they hired, and we'd never heard of these people before. That was a red flag because we're in the book business. We know the people that are really doing the right kind of promotion and everything on the book. These guys spent $30,000 and didn't even move the needle to sell their book. Now, this company that they hired might be great about putting people on television, but are they really connected to people that sell books at the end of the day? So find the right person that's going to be right for you. For example, I wrote a biography on Billy Graham. It came out a few years ago, and I hired a PR person to help me. He didn't charge the typical $3,000 to $5,000 a month that these guys charge to promote my book. Instead, he charged me a much more modest fee. And we did it for a campaign. In other words, over a series of months rather than just 1 month. And this guy booked over 50 radio interviews for me, where I got on and talked about Billy Graham and my book about Billy Graham. Well, one of those interviews was with Janet Parshall, who has a radio show called In the Market with Janet Parshall. It's on the Moody Broadcast Network. It's simultaneously, when you're on that show, it's broadcast on to 700 radio stations. So you talk about mileage, for one broadcast. Mm-hmm. That's what can happen if you find the right one. I also have authors that, try radio like I did, and they book these radio interviews and they say, well, Terry, I don't think I got anything out of that. I don't know that I really sold books. Well, my follow-up question to them is, well, okay, you were on the radio, which is great. Did you get that broadcast? Did you save it on your own website? Are you still using it? There's some simple things like that. So these radio interviews that I did for Billy Graham a number of years ago, I recorded them live. So they sound live today, just like they did a year ago. I'm still using those live radio interviews to promote my Billy Graham book. It's all a matter of just learning how to use the tools that you have and then sort of rinse and repeat. Do it over and over. I want to make sure too that I can really tell people how they can get this 10 publishing myths book. I've set up a special site, a special offer. If your listeners go to publishingoffer.com, they can get this book for only $10. And that includes the shipping and over $200 worth of free bonuses. Now, these aren't just run-of-the-mill dorky bonuses that I have. One of my bonuses, for example, I interviewed a friend of mine that self-published his book, and he sold thousands of his books to public libraries. People forget. I mean, there's over 9,000 public libraries in this country. And this guy found a list of libraries online, and he made a point to spend a couple hours a day calling those librarians, telling them a little pitch about his book, taking an order from those guys. I mean, libraries have money to buy books, right? So they would order the book from him. He would pack it up, put it in an envelope, and he sold thousands of books doing that. I mean, that's the kind of idea that any of us, no matter how you publish, could take. Now, sure, there's shoe leather involved. I mean, there's effort that you have to do in order to sell those books. But if you do it over and over, you can be successful.
Indeed, indeed. That's the website right there, correct?
That's it.
All right.
That's great.
You know, the author you've said that the author has to have the greatest passion for their book. That's their baby, right? That's their book. That's their blood, sweat, tears, and calluses on their fingertips, right?
That's right.
How does this passion need to translate into their work and marketing? Yeah, you talk this time. You're talking directly to me.
Well, it has to translate into, I would say, regular experimentation to figure out what is going to be the best way for you. I mean, and then pick a path, try that path, see if that's going to work for you. And if it doesn't, after a while, get off that path and try another path. I mean, none of us can be everywhere. So each of us have to kind of choose which social media sites we're going to be on, what effort we're going to make in that area. Do you have a newsletter, for example? I'll freely admit here, I had a newsletter. I've had a newsletter for years, but in June of this year, the company that I've been using for over 20 years to do my newsletter decided to close. And so I've done some reorganization on my newsletter to get to a different place so that I'm consistently doing it. I also realized for my own newsletter, I wasn't even sending people newsletters on a consistent basis. And I was sending people hither and yon. I wasn't sending them to a focused place that I wanted to send them. So about a year ago, I fixed all that. I decided to consistently send out my newsletter. And so I send it out every Wednesday. You get a newsletter from me. It's just a little short newsletter. And I'm focused on telling people publishing insights and sending them information about 10 publishing myths here. They can get other stuff from me as well, but I think that's one of the keys is really figuring out how to reach your readers and then helping them in any way that you can.
Now, I've come to understand that with your book that you can get at publishingoffer.com, there's a $200 of free bonuses that come with the book. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's right. That bonus is like one of the bonuses, for example, is that that lengthy interview that I did with my friend that's self-publishing books in libraries. And so you can learn all the details. Which librarian did he call? What kind of things did he say? How did he follow up? Those are all skills that each of us as authors kind of have to learn in this whole journey that we're on to be able to be effective and to seize the opportunities that are around us. I mean, I've heard Marcus Duhay, who at the time was the chief executive officer of Penguin Random House, the biggest publisher in the world. He stepped back from that now, but he said on this webinar that I was listening to that we live in one of the greatest times in human history since Gutenberg invented the printing press. And I really believe that. I believe that's true. I mean, we're surrounded with opportunities. We just have to figure out which is the right opportunity for us and not just learn it, but reach out there and do something with it in order to be able to seize that opportunity and move forward with what it has for us.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Finally, where else can our listeners connect with you and follow your writing life?
Yeah, I blog once a week, so they can go to the writinglife.ws website. That's my blog site. They can subscribe to my blog, get it on their email. I really try to make it easy for people to reach me. I have my personal email address in my X Twitter profile, which is basically terry@terrywhalin.com. I read my email. I answer my email. I follow up on my email. I mean, those are just simple things that all of us can do. Not everybody does it, but if you do it, it's a way to distinguish yourself out there in the marketplace. You know, one of the things that I've been able to do through my life, I've been in some of the top literary agencies in New York City. And when I go in there, they're always asking me, Terry, where's the next bestseller? Where's the next best nonfiction book? Where's the best novel, the best children's book? Where is that? And what that shows me really is that all of us are really way flooded with material. I mean, even at Morgan James, where I work, I mean, we receive over 5,000 submissions a year and only do about 200 books a year. So there's way more material that we get than we can actually process in this. But those questions from top literary agents show me that they're actively getting up every day and they're reading their email. They're looking at their pitches. They're looking at their physical mail that comes in. And if they see some diamond in the rough, they're reaching out to those people. They're actively looking for that stuff. So no matter what response you're getting, if you're getting no response, if you're getting rejection letters, just be encouraged that people really are looking out there, and whether they respond to you or not, you need to be persistent, consistent, and really persevere in the process.
All right. Well, thank you for appearing on the More Than Therapy podcast. Your information that you share with us is definitely needed. There's a number of artists, not only in the More Than Therapy house, but also amongst my peers and my co-workers. And I thank you for that. Please, check out more about Terry Whalin at terrywhalin.com, as well as publishingoffer.com and other websites, which you'll find in the notes of this podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the More Than Therapy podcast, where you can find more episodes like this that enlighten, inspire, motivate, and all those good things. And you can subscribe to that anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast. That's the More Than Therapy Podcast. Be well and continue to be great.